Imagine stepping back in time to a place where footsteps echo through cobbled streets and along castle ramparts, where swords clash, fires rage, and people pray. Where witches and the devil pass the time alongside demon dogs and headless knights. Join me as I look at the haunted history of Warwick. There has been a fortified settlement in Warwick since Anglo-Saxon times, developing over the years from a Motte and Bailey castle to the splendid tourist attraction it is now. So perhaps it isn't surprising that there are numerous tales of wicked deeds and ghostly happenings to navigate. Our journey starts with one of the castle's more recent occupants, Fulke Greville, 1st Baron Brooke, who was born on the 3rd of October 1554. Greville had an interesting and successful life as a courtier, politician and poet under both Elizabeth I and James I, and in 1604 the king gave him Warwick Castle. At that time, the castle had been unoccupied for 14 years and was in a terrible condition. The lead from the roof had been stolen, timbers had rotted, stone walls were ready to fall down and bridges had collapsed. Greville spent years and a considerable amount of money not simply restoring Warwick Castle, but turning it into a beautiful country residence with his own comfortable suite of rooms and a study in the Watergate Tower. A man of significant means, Greville also had a home in London, and it was here that he met his demise. Ralph Haywood had worked as a servant for Greville for years, and had always been told that his lordship would do something for him. Greville eventually prepared a will that said Haywood should have £20 a year for life, which Haywood must have felt was inadequate, because on the 1st of September 1628, as he was helping Greville dress, Haywood drew a knife and stabbed his master twice in the left side. Haywood fled, locking Greville in his chamber, and with the same knife he had used to attack his lord, stabbed himself 4 times in the chest. Haywood died, but Greville's own wounds were not immediately fatal, and he lingered on in pain for a month. Medical knowledge being what it was in 1628, his own surgeons likely precipitated his death, thrusting pig fat into one of the stab wounds, which putrefied and killed him. Greville died on the 30th of September 1628 in London, and his body was brought back to Warwick Castle before being buried at St Mary's Church. It has long been said that Greville's ghost haunts the Watergate Tower, to the extent that it is now known as the Ghost Tower. There have been reports of strange noises and eerie sounds, knocking from behind the ancient wood panelling, and the air becoming thick with an unaccountable presence. Staff have been too frightened to work in the tower on occasions, and perhaps most disconcertingly, the spectral figure of Greville is said to manifest beyond the confines of his portrait. A quiet spirit, his ghostly form is glimpsed, walking through his rooms, leaving a sense of sadness in its wake. Let's leave Greville now, and visit another haunted part of the castle, Caesar's Tower. Moll Bloxham was an old servant who lived in a cottage by the castle walls. Moll was allowed to sell surplus milk and butter from the castle kitchens to the townspeople, and either she got greedy or some of the locals became jealous of her privilege. It is claimed that she said, "Milk and butter I sell ever, weight and measure I give never," and her deemed short measures and high prices caused complaints to be lodged with the Earl. He promptly withdrew Moll's right to sell these products, a bitter blow. Unfortunately for the people of Warwick, Moll was versed in black magic and used her witchcraft to exact revenge. Moll vanished, and at the same time the phantom of a huge black dog began to haunt the castle and terrorise the town. The dog was the size of a calf, covered in shaggy black hair, and it foamed at the mouth. In desperation, 3 clergymen were summoned to exorcise this demon creature, chasing it through the castle while reciting prayers and abjurations. At the top of Caesar's Tower, the dog was cornered and leapt into the River Avon some 40 metres below. It is said that the evil spirit of Moll is still there, trapped beneath the dam. On some nights, you can hear the growling of a dog and the rattling of Moll's bones, perhaps as her ghost tries to free itself from its watery grave. Warwick isn't all about the castle though, and our next stop takes us not too far from the modern castle grounds to visit a small, black and white timber-framed building. This used to be a doll museum and is now a tea rooms, but 500 years ago it was the home of Thomas Oken, a rich merchant and patron to the town of Warwick. There is an inscription on the building recording that Thomas Oken was a great benefactor to the town and that he died in the property on the 29th of July 1573. His will left his personal fortune to the people of Warwick. He provided almshouses to help people in need, street paving was paid for, wells were repaired, and the salaries of those serving the town were paid. The charity he set up is still in existence today, and maybe that's why Oken is still making his presence known. Door latches inside the property rattle up and down, with doors opening and closing of their own accord. An ethereal presence is reported, albeit a friendly one. Footsteps are heard in the property when no one is there to make them. These are believed to be the sounds of Oken wandering through his old home, walking up and down the stairs. The footsteps always cease on the last step but one, the final step having been added after the death of Thomas Oken. Let's head now to the old court and jail buildings where Jeremiah Stone, a Cromwellian soldier who was wounded at the Battle of Edge Hill in 1642, had a hellish encounter. Jeremiah sought refuge in Warwick after pillaging a bag of coins from dead comrades and fleeing the battlefield. Weak from his injuries, he entrusted the ill-gotten gains to the landlord of the Anchor Inn for safekeeping. However, when he recovered and asked for his money back, the unscrupulous landlord denied any knowledge and had Jeremiah arrested. That night, the devil appeared to Jeremiah and offered to be his attorney in court the next day in return for his soul. Jeremiah, a deserter who hadn't got hold of the money honestly in the first place, readily agreed. The devil, true to his word, stood up for Jeremiah and proposed that the inn should be searched for the missing bag of coins. The defiant landlord, claiming no bag of coins would be found, exclaimed, "May the devil take me if I have ever had any such bag." Seizing the opportunity for an extra soul, the devil fulfilled the oath. He whisked the lying landlord away, carrying him over the marketplace, leaving behind nothing but a terrible stink. It is said that on some days, the struggling ghost of the landlord can still be seen, floating over the market square, accompanied by a foul odour. The final stop on our journey is the West Gate, with the chapel of St James the Great built over it. This is a site older than the Oken house and was built a good 500 years before Jeremiah made his pact with the devil. It is one of the original entrances to Warwick and has long been the site of support to the deserving poor. Next to the West Gate is the Leycester Hospital, impressive medieval half-timbered buildings converted into almshouses for ex-soldiers by Robert Dudley, the Earl of Leicester, in 1571. Many ghostly residents of the hospital are said to have been seen over the years: phantom soldiers, a spectral nurse, and a headless knight wearing medieval armour. When repairs and restorations were made to the chapel over the West Gate, a headless skeleton in rusty armour was discovered deep within a hidden wall cavity. The remains were taken out of the chapel and given a more conventional burial, after which the ghost of the knight was no longer seen. I can only assume that despite his missing head, this warrior finally found a more peaceful afterlife. Walking through the historic town of Warwick, I found it easy to imagine each cobblestone and time-worn brick whispering tales of what has gone before. It's definitely a place where history and the supernatural intertwine, where stories of the ghost tower, the devil, the spectral knight, and the demon dog converge into a rich narrative that transcends the boundaries of the living and the dead. I hope the haunted heritage of Warwick continues to unfold, captivating the curious, entrancing the inquisitive, and sending shivers down the spines of those who dare to journey through its mysterious, spirit-laden streets.